Hello, this is Bobby from Ragged Poet. I'm doing another March of the Pips video. I think it's my fourth one, maybe. And I'm doing day 16 to today, which I think is either 22 or 23, I can't remember. It's been a tough week. If those of you who know me will know that I had to say goodbye to my beloved goat Moon on Tuesday, which was really hard, but also I learned a lot from it, and I'm going to share a little bit about that later in one of the daily draws. But yeah, I feel lighter knowing that she's not suffering, and strong that I made the right decision. But as I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I'm filming this video. I don't know how long it's going to take me to upload because my Mac is old and it's given up the ghost, and so I'm having to reformat it, and it's taken forever to back stuff up, and so I'm doing all that. So I thought I might as well make a video anyway on my phone, even if I can't upload it yet. So day 16, the keyword was detachment, and I started using the Tarot de Marseille, the first real Marseille deck I've actually used in this challenge by Kris, which I almost gave away. Now I'm really glad I didn't, because I really like it. But then my whole attitude to pip decks has changed during this challenge. Thank you, Kelly, Patrick, and Itzy. So yeah, detachment. So I asked the cards, what is it that keeps me apart from everyone else and the rest of the world, mainly? And I drew La Force, which is strength. So this is me, and I set the spread out, so this represents the rest of my world. And I got the Emperor and the world. And I think it is my strength. It's my strength that I'm not scared to fight the establishment. I'll stand out. I don't care what people think. If it's the right thing to do for me, I will stand up and state my case. Always have done, always will do. Raise my kids to be the same. I've always been a bit of an activist, and I've not ever been very establishment. And the world, and I'm not afraid to be who I am. In this world, I'm strong enough to stand in my own right and be the person I am on the inside. I don't wear a mask. I am the same to everyone, pretty much. Might be a bit slightly different to complete strangers, but on the whole, I don't change. I am the same. Don't hide things. I wear my heart on my sleeve most of the time. And I'm not afraid to be who I am. I don't, what I wear, the way I look. I've never cared what other people think. So that's how I read it. It's my strength to be who I am in the world and not put on an act, and not have to comply and not fit in. I don't care if I don't fit in, because I am who I am. So that was pretty cool. Enjoyed that draw very much. So then we're on to day 17, and the keyword, just looking at my journal, because I've been journaling all this. Look at all these, all this March of the Pips journaling I've been doing here. So that was 17. So day 18 we're on now. Been very good. No, sorry, day 17. We're on day 17, and the keyword for day 17 is overcoming. So again, from the Kris Marseille deck, there's the backs, aren't they gorgeous? For overcoming, I drew the Five of Wands, the King of Coins or Pentacles, and the Five of Cups. And I looked at this as overcoming some concerns in a relationship as it develops from the safety of the four to the new growth of the five. And I saw the King as being maturity and these fives as a willingness to move on and learn and gain wisdom from the past, and that by having this willingness to move forward and to use the wisdom and stuff that you've learned, you can overcome these things. And the Five of Cups is will link. I see all these beautiful twirlies and the flowers and things coming in as linking the two partners in a relationship more closely if they are willing to move on, let the past go, and accept the lessons they've learned. You can overcome lots of small things. There's a huge theme to all these readings I've been doing about learning and relationships and new growth and moving on. It's quite amazing, really. So that was day 17. So day 18 was expectations. And I had a huge long conversation about this with my friend Artsy and another friend Diane earlier this year, or maybe late last year. My expectations in life have always been very low. And so when I drew these 4 cards, I asked what blocks my expectations and why are they so as they are? Why can I not raise them? And mainly, not my expectations of myself are high, but my expectations from others and what I deserve in life are low. And they always have been. I don't know why that is. But so I asked what made them so low, and I got these 2 cards, and then I asked what I could do to change that. And I got the 2 of Cups and the Ace of Swords. So I immediately saw these 2 cards as huge blockages. This one is kind of very defensive, a real willingness to, how it's gripping onto that sword, a real willingness to let go of old habits and old thought patterns. And this kind of stalemate, this blockage here, where they're just solid, but nothing's going anywhere. And what I need to do to change it, I think, is embrace this this partnership that's come into my life and my connection to others, and allow that to cut these ties, cut these binds, slice through those old thought patterns and let all this new stuff happen and start raising my expectations, like he's holding that sword up there. This is how I read these cards. And I think I'm really looking forward to getting Camelia Elias's book about the Marseille. I've been reading her blog post. I love the Bendo book, really love it. But I've been reading her blog posts, and the way she reads, just really resonates with me. It's so kind of poetic, magical, and I love it. So just reading a couple of her blog posts, because I don't have the book yet, really inspired me with these cards. And I just seem to have some intuition that tells me this is how you read this spread. It's not like I have to look, this is that. I look at it and I get these messages, and it's really cool. And I don't care if they're right or wrong. To me, the cards are saying these are the right things. I mean, that is how I read anyway. I do know all the traditional meanings of cards, but I try very hard not to let them sway me in any way. Obviously they do, because they're there in my subconscious all the time. But that makes it actually very difficult. If you're a very intuitive reader like I am, it makes it quite difficult to read Lenormand. I find it's really hard to let go of the intuition, because Lenormand is a set system, and I find that very, very, I love it, but I do find it kind of difficult to switch off that intuition with it and read, dead straight pan kind of by the book kind of thing. So I want to learn more about that, and if people do actually work intuitively with it, because I think you do need some intuition to tell the story, and all cards tell a story, but that's another story. So that was day 18 and expectations. And I think that was the last draw I did with I've been doing three days with each deck I've used so far, and I've gone through quite a few decks. So I think this was the last draw with the Hadar deck. So I'll just go and get the next deck for day 19. So the keyword for day 19 was well-being, and I'm using the Tarot Noir, this gorgeous, almost impossible to use because it's so big, deck by Justine, this is a box, Justine Turner and Matthieu Hackiere. It's French, the guidebook. I showed it in my intro video. It's got a beautiful guidebook, but it's really badly put together. It's badly bound and all the pages pulled out. It's gorgeous though. and it's written in French, and which I can sort of understand, but I haven't actually read much of it. It keeps falling to bits. So this is for the next 3 days, and yeah, so day 19, the key word was well-being. And as I was shuffling the cards for this draw, I thought, well, I asked what gives me what's the best thing to give me my greatest sense of well-being, and I knew that anyway. It's being who I am and being completely true to myself. And the first card I drew was the Ten of Wands. And I read that because, as I said, I'm not totally au fait with the Marseille, but so I wanted to see what Ben Dove had to say about it. And it says loyalty, pure intentions, perseverance, and honouring one's principles in spite of difficulties. And that made me laugh, because it was kind of exactly what I was thinking, like being yourself, being true to yourself, and honouring your own principles. And if you do that, then everything flows. You grow spiritually, you grow emotionally, you feel abundant, you feel all this amazing kind of joy and love in yourself. And it's that feeling that kind of goes right into your heart. Like, when you see something that you really love that makes your heart leap, like it really does leap in your body. When you see, I don't know, your child smiling or any of those things, or even think about something amazing, and your heart you can feel it get bigger and like really shine out of your body. And when you're being true to yourself, I think, and really honouring your own self and being the best you can be, and honouring your creativity and everything you are, and whatever you're doing, it can be like washing up. But if you've got that real passion in you and that love of sense of you doing this thing, it's just this huge expansion in the heart, a real Ace of Cups feeling. It's just incredible. And it's just flowing. Everything's flowing and right. And again, the Six of Coins underlines this abundance and all the resources and success and balance. So I think those 3 cards for well-being were incredible, really incredible. So yeah, day 19, well-being with the Tarot Noir. So the key word for day 20, just move that a little bit so you can see all the cards, is choice. And I got the Six of Swords, the Queen of Cups, the Eight of Cups, and the Ace of Swords. And I was basically asking, where does choice come in at the moment in my life? What's the biggest challenge for me where choice is concerned? Because I do procrastinate a lot. I don't like having to choose. And the 2 things that came up for me were this Queen of Cups, which is this very intuitive inner person, a real inside kind of person who is quite not lonely, but a bit of a loner, quite the hermit, prefers the inner life and to being out and socializing a lot of the time. Whereas the Eight of Cups is about being in a group and developing those relationships in a group, or joining in with the family and things like at Christmas. I always find I love my family, but I'm not a big party person, and I always find that for me to I have to compromise, which is what this card I think is about. Rather than make a direct choice, I compromise between the 2. And I see this as compromise between this part of me that wants to be out and like part of the party, and in my heart I'm there and with my family, but it's kind of more in an inner way than an outer way. It's really hard to explain. My connections to people are kind of deep inside, spiritual, strong connections, in that I know I can connect with someone long before I meet them, really in a very, very powerful way. And it doesn't change. It's happened to me before where I do connect with people I've met online, friends, and when I actually meet them, it's the connection is so strong. And I think this Ace of Swords here is saying, like, again, I have difficulty choosing. I can't just take that knife and cut it and make a straight, rational decision. And so there's always this kind of competition between the two. But maybe I do need sometimes to make choices rather than compromise all the time. So this help is at hand with the power of this sword here, who's been up a couple of times lately. I've had quite a lot of repetition in March. Loads and loads of cups. I think I've had almost every single cup. Every single one of the cups, just about. I'll have to do a little tally and check because I haven't done that. But I know I've had pretty sure I've had most of them. And I've had quite a lot of repetition. But yes, that was my choice interpretation. So immediately I saw these two as being the inner me and the outer me. And this one as compromise, and this one that needs to cut through sometimes and actually make choices and enjoy one or the other rather than, because what happens is if you do this too much, you don't enjoy either of these states because you feel guilty for not being part of this, which means you can't enjoy that. And if you're doing that, you feel, oh, you know, I want to be on this inner thing, and you're not really enjoying that. So sometimes you have to make a straight choice, screw the guilt, get rid of the guilt, and go for what is true to yourself. So yeah, that's the reading I got from Choice and the Tarot Noir on day 20? So next day 21, and I think, what was the key word for that? It was, where's my book? So now we're on to day 21, and the key word is challenge. And the 21st of March was a day I lost Moon and faced one of the biggest challenges and choice kind of things that I've ever had to do, really. Well, you make a lot of choices that are very difficult with children and stuff, but deciding that it was time for Moon to move on, I had to make that decision. Nature didn't make it for me. Moon got very sick, but she was really strong and walking around and eating as normal until a few days ago. Then she went downhill very quickly. She slowed down, and on Sunday night she couldn't move. She couldn't stand up on her own anymore. She was drinking still and tiny bit of eating. So I was like cleaning her back and moving her around when I could. And she was shuffling around on her front feet. And I called a vet who wouldn't come out, who lived around the corner, which I thought was a bit mean. And as soon as I could get a vet out here, because we live out in the sticks, was Tuesday morning. Well, so I just cuddled her a lot, and she was holding her head up. And from where I'd spoken to the vet, he said, "Oh, she doesn't sound like she's suffering at all." So I spent a lot of time with her. But by Tuesday morning, I knew it was almost like she wasn't with us any longer. Her eyes had lost their kind of light, really, and I knew then she had no quality of life. She was drinking hardly. Again, she didn't seem to be in pain or anything, but she wasn't hardly drinking and anything. So I'd arranged for the vet to come anyway, and I knew what I had to do, but I didn't know how I would be able to go through with it, letting go. And it was a huge challenge, but I held her, and my friend came round and helped me because everyone else was at work, my partner and my kids, and I held her, and the vet was really gentle and lovely. And it was almost beautiful. It was I'm such an emotional person, and it was such a huge thing, but I felt this blessing and this warmth and this real sense of rightness and kind of love around me when Moon left this plane. I learned a lot. 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I had a late miscarriage. We'd had scans, and the baby was all fine. And then one day I knew something was wrong. I wasn't putting on weight really, and I was quite sick, really nauseous. I was with all my pregnancies, but this was really bad. And I just felt so ill. And normally by that stage of the pregnancy, I felt really good. Although I always had nausea all the way through, but I still had lots of energy. And I knew something was wrong, and I went for a scan, and they told me that my baby had died. And I was so heartbroken. So the worst things that can happen to me are like my loved ones, losing my loved ones. And there's so little out there about miscarriage. If you lose a stillborn baby or a live child, there's so much empathy. But whether a baby's live and been with you in this plane or grown inside you, you still build a huge life for that person. From the minute you know you've conceived, which for me was pretty much at conception, you create this life and this love and this space for this new birth, this new being. And when the baby goes, there's this big hole there. And it's very hard to understand, I guess, to a lot of people. But it is there. And I lost, the bump was called Shug, and I lost Shug. And my children were all with me. And I remember my homeopath, I had an amazing homeopath back in England. She came round, and the hospital wanted to remove the baby by some horrible process, which I refused to do. I wanted to give birth naturally, which I did, and it was painful, but it was also a blessing, and I felt I was honouring that life and my children all around me. Again, I felt this huge blessing of love and the life I had around me, and this huge gratitude. And again, it taught me so much about myself, about how there is a cycle and we go through things for a reason. And losing Moon and my unborn baby were blessings. They were blessings that, because I'd loved and I'd had to let go, but I'd done it with honour. And I just wanted to share those things because it's really difficult things to go through. And if you're someone like me, which I think a lot of us intuitive kind of people are, these are the biggest things in life. These are the things that really, really, really matter in our lives. And these are the things that help us to grow and to move on. So forgive me for being emotional, and I know you're not going to care about that or worry about that. It's not going to, and I hope by sharing that it may have helped some of you. So anyway, back to the drawing challenges. So what I did is there's a person I follow that I've just found on Instagram called Lazy Pagan Tarot. I'll link her channel, Instagram feed below. I don't know if she's got a YouTube, but I really love her stuff. And she's been creating spreads recently for March of the Pips. And inspired by her for challenge, I just took the Tarot Noir and I threw down 4 piles of cards, and they kind of landed pretty haphazard. And one was more ordered than the other. I think it was that one. And I chose that one because order and structure for me are very, very difficult. And I got the Fool. And I've been thinking a lot recently in the last few months of getting rid of everything, selling up and hitting the road. In a bus or something. This was before I met my partner, and now I've become kind of more grounded in where I live, and I'm really enjoying it more than I have ever since I've been here, and I've been here 8 years now. It's had a lot of change since I lived here in my family with kids leaving and everything, so it's been really difficult to settle for me. But getting the Fool after these thoughts, even this morning I was looking up things on decluttering for those who can't declutter, for us Bohemian gypsies who don't have a Zen-like molecule in our body, even though he might want that. And I got this guy with his backpack with his little pack on his back, and I just laughed because the cards have got such a huge sense of humour. So yeah, my biggest challenge is saying goodbye to everything, and starting all over again. I have done it, as you know. Like, if any of you watch me, I did it 12 years ago when we came here. I left everything I knew, everything, and came over here with me and my kids with a suitcase each, and that was, so I can do it. I have done it before, but I find it really hard, except that time I didn't. The time was right. I believe in listening to the universe, and I think when the time is right, and really the Fool is about that, because you come full cycle and you know the time is right. So when you get back to the zero, like the Fool, you come all the way through the major arcana, and like that completed that cycle, and then you're on a new one, and you would know when the time was right, like I did. But yeah, the challenge, I think, was a bit humorous, the way the cards gave me this answer when I was thinking about like the whole decluttering thing. So there we are. That's up to day 21. I know I said my next video was going to be an unboxing of the things I showed at the end of my last video, but I haven't got round to that yet, with Moon and everything, and my computer going completely crazy and all the other stuff happening. I've just had no time or anything, and I've got my normal job, which I'm behind on because the computer's not working, and blah, 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 blah. And building the dunny up at the bus with my partner at the weekend, that's fun, but all takes time. So I will get that video done, and for now, thanks again for listening, and thanks for the lovely comments you leave. I care about you all very much. Bye.